year 2024-2025 budget discussion. It is June 3rd, 2024, and we appreciate the ones that are here. And thank you, Leslie and Allie, for guiding the start, and I know Andy as well. I can't see Andy, but I'm still acknowledging you over there, Andy. So there you go. So we'll open this up. Just a reminder, it's a public hearing. You have 5-minute limit per speaker. Also remind you about our ADA devices, listening devices we have here. I think we have up to 10 to 15, Lowell? 13 to be exact. Thank you. So please keep that in mind if you need them. So we'll open this up for updated discussion on the budget, and y'all are pointing, Leslie's pointing at Andy. So Andy, you get to start it off. Yes, sir.
All right, I'm going to start off. As you know, the budget has a proposed $3 million increase in it. So we're going to, if approved, the general fund in the budget would go from 92 mils to 95 mils. And a question that begs to be asked whenever you have a millage increase is, what are you spending the money on? Well, you know, earlier in the year, we had some requests from the public for some enhanced EMS service. So Chief Kramer investigated that possibility for us, and I have Deputy Chief Bunye here tonight, and I invited him to come here because I think it's a really good plan, and I thought the public would like hearing it. And the millage increase would cover this cost. Deputy Chief.
Yes, sir.
Good evening.
Evening.
As Andy said, I am Aaron Bunny. I'm a Deputy Fire Chief at Clemson University. I'm standing in for Chief Kramer as he's on a well-deserved vacation. So our proposal to enhance the EMS service within the city limits of Clemson is to have an advanced life support QRV, which is a quick response vehicle. That would just encompass one person that would be able to respond to all the calls in the city, along with Pickens County as the ambulance service still. They're not necessarily a transport agent, but they are able to transport with the patient in the back of an ambulance if needed. They would leave the truck there, ride in, and come back and pick it up. That would require us to hire 3 additional personnel at the minimum. With the QRV costs and the personnel and equipment, we're looking at about $169,300 just for the vehicle and the equipment that goes on that vehicle. And we're looking at $242,079 annually for personnel costs, which is their salaries. Operating costs is about $12,000 annually for the truck itself and the resupplies and all the stuff that goes with that. So your first year out the gate would be $423,879 to start running. We estimate $254,079 per year following. However, we also want to let everybody know that there's also potential for 10% increase every year as everything is going up in price. So our medical supplies are not any cheaper than they were, so they're still along with that 10%. So we kind of broke that out for the 5-year plan. So about $250,000 per year after that, plus or minus 10%. Some of our next steps to get rolling with this would be get some approval from the university to hire those 3 full-time employees. We just got to go with them and try to barter and get some position numbers to be able to hire those 3 personnel in. We would also have to have some good discussions with Pickens County to establish some dispatch procedures and protocols for us to respond. Like I said, we would respond to everything that they're available for. So if they're there, they can respond. Pickens County would have to dispatch us, and we would go with their ambulance. The procurement process for the vehicle and equipment, so the vehicles are about 8 months out, depending on which vehicle you look at. You can get them as early as 6 months, depending on the availability of that. Some of the equipment, cardiac monitors especially, are about a 4-month back order. So it's going to take a little bit of time for equipment to show up and come into play. In a hiring process for personnel, it takes us about 30 to 45 days to hire one person. Obviously, that would be a team of 3 getting hired at one time, so it's just 30 to 45 days. And then to implement the whole QRV process, we estimate 6 months or so in order to do that. Pending any further questions, that's all I have.
Questions for Deputy Chief?
This means we'll have a paramedic respond to every call that comes in, and they will be on the scene within 5 minutes or less.
that's a good solution. Thank y'all for working on that.
And Pickens County would be on the way with an ambulance to transport.
Correct.
Gotcha.
And we would not be taking their ambulance from them, it's just we're supporting them. That gives you a paramedic on scene to do that quick evaluation. And if they don't need the ambulance, they can send the ambulance away to do the refusal paperwork.
It's a good gauge too as we grow and see if we need to move to the next step. So this is a good interim too. Probably remains even if you did grow into an ambulance.
Again, like you've heard, we appreciate you and Chief and everyone else on the team coming to the solution, this possible solution, so appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thank you, Andy. Thank you for guiding that.
Thank you, Deputy Chief. While we're on general fund, I need to explain to you that the budget is 64.4% higher than last year's budget. I wanted to explain why that is. That has to do with a $28 million utility bond that's going to be doing our utility projects over the next couple of years, plus about $10 million in ARPA projects. Our actual operating increase was 7.9% over last year, and that's the number, that's the real number. Everything else zeroes out with grants and other funding sources. In that 7.9%, we have several equipment purchases. We had the class and comp recommendations, and we have some new positions. We have a patrol officer, a telecommunicator, and a jailer, a drug enforcement detective, which is a grant-funded position, a public information officer. We need some administrative assistance in IT and planning. We have a GIS technician, a stormwater inspector, 2 residential sanitation positions for a combined cost of $718,000. We had to use a significant amount of fund balance, or at least compared to previous years, to balance this budget. We wanted to keep the millage to just enough to cover what the EMS position would be. We used $1.5 million in fund balance to balance it. Your new reserve is $12,912,000, which is sufficient to meet your minimum fund balance policy of 50% of the operating expenses in general fund. We also have some information here if you want to know what the millage increase impact is on a $100,000 house. It's $12 a year. $200,000 house will be $24 a year, and $350,000 will be $41. We also have some rates, the utility rates, and I'm going to let Heather talk about those.
Basically, we went by the rate study last year, so this year would go up on water 10% and sewer 7.5%. So looking at an average water bill with 5,000 gallons, it would go from $102.68 to $109.78, and that includes sanitation, which we did not go up on. It's still $15, and the stormwater, which would go from $6 to $6.15, and that doesn't include irrigation.
Sanitation.
Sanitation, the residential charge, of course, we did not go up on. The commercial sanitation charge, we're going from $15 to $18 on a roll cart. And that includes the tipping fee, and on the commercial dumpster, it would go up from $95.40 to $100.50.
The other one is our stormwater fees are going to go up 15 cents on a residential, and on a commercial, it's going up 45 cents.
Yeah, I forgot the commercial, sorry.
Then we also have some fees that are associated with new construction that are not part of a monthly bill. That would be
The water tap fees, we haven't increased those in some time, so they, in order to subsidize our costs, we're gonna have to go up on those.
our administrative fee is going to increase $5. The disconnect fee would go up $5. Landlord rollover fee, $5 increase. Transfer of account fee would be $5 increase. Pressure check fee is non-existent, so we're implementing that one there. That would be $25. And a hydrant flow test is also something that is not currently being charged. That is $250. And there's a review fee for the city for a delegated review of a project request, $300.
What does that usually encompass? What kind of a review is that? Commercial, new build?
That'd be commercial. And the same thing with a hydrant flow test. So basically, you're looking at 17.5% increase for the average utility customer. Per the rate study, which is still sufficient for us to cover all of our maintenance and upgrade things that we have to do. We've got a lot of infrastructure that's 50 years old that needs to be replaced. All those projects are still sufficiently funded through this rate study. And we have lowered our reserves down to like 5 months of working capital, which is a little low, but doable. We'd rather run real thin than increase rates any more than we have to. I don't know if you guys remember this. This was the budget a couple of years ago. Thanks, Heather.
Thanks, Heather.
Pardon?
I was just saying thanks.
Okay. Allie's driving tonight because this is your new budget. Leslie and Sarah and Allie have used this new software and has completely reformatted everything. And she's going to kind of show you a quick walkthrough of how you can find things, the type of information that's available.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
So,
It'll be up on the website tomorrow, the link to it.
so it has all your basic information, but kind of an overview better of how we budget, the budget process, the timeline and how we got to where we are today. And then for our budget overview, it kind of explains all of the different revenue sources we have, as well as the different funds, how the increases or decreases in how those funds are. We have our new organization chart, and explains how we reorganize based on the class and compensation study. And the personnel, all of our citywide positions, how many each department, and when we're adding the new positions, we have a net gain of 9 positions, as some were funded last year and not filled, things of that nature. When we go to our different funds, we have our general fund, we have our proprietary funds, and when you click on them, you're able to see kind of a summary as well as actuals. And so here where we see this major increase, we can see that it's based on the additional capital is the main reason for that. And it's also by department. So one to notice, we even got pictures of all the department heads, is in IT, you'll see an increase of 204%. That is because prior to this year, each individual department housed their own IT cost, so it was spread out among all the city, but for transparency and ease, we are putting them in the department that it belongs in, so all the IT costs are in the IT budget and will be allocated to the other departments at the end of the year. Leslie might want to touch on that more.
Yes, so basically it was citywide IT expenses were being allocated kind of as we paid bills. And even IT and finance and admin, there were several departments, general government departments that were being spread salary-wise to different funds, and it shows up there that it's mostly the water, wastewater, and sanitation funds where the salaries were being dispersed they were budgeted and dispersed every time we did payroll. And so it was hard to see like what our department costs truly were. And so we also, it was never really reanalyzed to see what the percent should be, and it's been the same for over 20 years. So we decided that we would take another approach. It's definitely an approved approach, where you account for everything in the appropriate department, in its original department where the expense incurred, and then you allocate based on approved allocation processes, and we have several steps of how we're allocating those costs out, and they will be sort of below the line of operating expenses. They're more like transfers, so that's how they'll work. And then we'll no longer do what we used to call quasi-external transfers, which were always confusing, and they were not looked at for like 20 to 30 years either. So now this whole process is basically being able to be more equitable and fairly dispersed through the departments and funds annually, instead of waiting 20 years to relook at them every time. So hopefully that makes sense, but it's hoping to make it more transparent.
Yep. And then same for debt. You have a good summary of the debt that we have, our GO bonds versus the revenue bonds, and what they're going to pay for. So once the website goes live, it's a lot of good information. I think it'll be a lot easier to navigate and to understand. But we'll have this up on the website tomorrow.
And with that, Mayor, we're done.
All right. Any questions for Leslie or Ally from anyone? I'll just make a comment. I appreciate the more efficient, more transparent. Appreciate that. Looks good. Looks great. It breaks it out very thoroughly, so we appreciate that. We'll open this up to the public. Again, you have 5 minutes. If you have any questions or comments, I shouldn't say questions or comments, this is your opportunity. You might hear some others come in, and Lowell's already going to the door. Thank you. I know we have it broken down, it's a 60% increase, but then scaling it back again to 7.9, that's in there as well? Because I may have missed it right off.
Well,
When you look at the total increase of 64.4,
it's not explicitly, I mean, you have to look through it. I mean, we would have to make a statement that would show, just
Is that
plain speak, saying that that's what's
Is that
up.
too
We'd have to
hard to
break out
make?
the
'Cause all you would do
operating
is-
from the projects.
Can you just make that statement? Because I mean, I think that needs to be clearly communicated.
yeah, and we have all the capital projects broken down
Right.
to see the full 27.8 million. We can find a way to.
Scroll down again. Is that, yeah, it's more like 30,
sorry.
sorry, 38.
But I think that would just be good so you don't have to back into it. Just my thoughts.
We can do that.
Thank you.
We also have Andy's transmittal letter.
Right.
That headshot, how nice.
Andy had a tile.
For 6 minutes that day,
Where'd you borrow it from?
my closet, had to dust it off.
Jeremiah, you would have told me if we got in. I know Alicia's not here today, so.
No comments.
Thank you. All right, one last chance. Any other comments on the budget for this public hearing? If not, any other? No, I'm going to close it out. We'll reconvene at 6:30 at our normal regular city council meeting.